Pleasant morning to each and everyone. So my name is Charmaine M. Salibio. For today's video, we will talk about points to remember in oral interpretation. So, are you all ready? Let's go. Although the term oral interpretation may be new to you, the experience of interpreting literature is part of everyday life. So, for example, lawyers read evidence to a jury, and then pastors read prayers. Then parents and teachers read to their children. So, you may remember how much you enjoy being read to as a child, right? So in this guide, you will learn how to prepare for oral interpretation. You will learn the characteristics of oral interpretation, how to select appropriate, quality material for oral interpretation, and how to analyze that material. So, first let's go to the characteristics of oral interpretation. So there we have oral interpretation involves the performing of literature are allowed to communicate meaning to an audience. So an interpreter analyzes the literature, and uses his or her voice to communicate the results of the analysis. So the interpreter is the connection between the literature and the audience. So there are major differences between oral interpretation and public speaking or acting. So we have there the you are not an author. Of course, you're there just to read to them or interpret to them the literature. Next is you you perform the author's word by direct reading. So meaning as an interpreter, you bring to life the words or the exact words of another person. Then we have the third one is you interpret a piece of literature. So meaning you are not trying to create message to persuade or inform your listeners. Instead, you are trying to help the listeners or see the images you are creating orally. Then your goal for that is to share the meaning of the literature as you interpret it. So the last one we have there, you remain yourself during the performance, so which is very important. When you are acting, you take on the role of the character in a play. When you interpret, you use your voice and body to suggest the mood of the characters, but you do not become a character. So that is for the major differences between oral interpretation and public speaking or acting. The other one. So here we can see the second, which is appropriate literature for oral interpretation. So here are some of the many kinds of literature you could use for oral interpretation. First is favorite authors. So for this, you are already emotionally invested in the authors you like. So the second one, literature collections. So for example, your English textbook or etc. Third one is biographies or autobiographies, then plays or screenplays. So those are the other many kinds of literature. Then, as you select your performance material, think about these standards. So first is the quality of the literature. So good literature has a certain characters or characteristics. It has a theme that connects the reader or listener to common human experiences such as love, anger, joy, and pain. So for the second one, we have there the audience appeal. Of course, you ask yourself how the listeners will respond to the material you selected. Is it appropriate for the age, concerns, and feelings of your audience? Does the piece fit the occasion? So those are the most important question you need to know before you do or interpret the said literature. Then we have their oral possibilities. So for this, can your listener grasp the meaning of your piece in just one reading? You don't get a second chance. If the language is too difficult or sentence structured too complex that literature is not appropriate for reading aloud, look for words and ideas that can be clearly communicated as a or yes, that will help the audience to be more um, connected to the said interpretation that you have done. So that is very important. Then the last one is the feelings for the piece. So for this one, you must feel a connection to the material. You cannot expect on an audience to get excited over a piece that has no meaning for you. If you don't feel connected to the literature you will also have a hard time communicating its meaning to your audience. So, you really need to know more about your piece in order for them to really connect to you. So, let's go to checklist for selecting material for oral interpretation. We have number 1, does it connect with common human experiences? Second, is it appropriate to the audience and to the occasion? Then, will listeners be able to grasp the meaning in one reading? Then, do you feel personally connected to the material? So, if all of this you will is checked, then it is a go for you to interpret the said literature that you have chosen. So, all these four questions were very important for you to continue interpreting. Then, we have the third one, analyzing. So, as you prepare for a performance, you must become very familiar with the literature you have selected. The better you understand a piece, the easier it will be to communicate its meaning to the audience. There are four keys to analyze literature. You need to look at the first is the dramatic speaker, then the elements of the literature, then the language and the author. So, for the dramatic speaker, this is the voice that is heard as you perform your piece. This is the person telling the story or describing the scene. It is not the author's voice, but a voice created by the author. The voice may belong to a character in the piece or to a narrator who is not part of the action. So, that is for the dramatic speaker. For the elements of literature, as you analyze your piece, you will need to look at elements such as the setting, the plot, mood, theme, conflict, characters, and culture. So those are the most important elements of literature. Don't forget the setting, plot, mood, theme, conflict, characters, and the culture. So for the language, as an interpreter, you need to study the author's word choice, style, and rhythm and rhyme. If you don't understand why something is expressed in a certain way, you can communicate its meaning to an audience. So you need to have the word choice, the style, the rhythm, and the rhyme. So in word choice, you need to quote the author exactly as it is written. And for the style, the way a piece was written helps create the mood or feeling for your listeners. Then for the rhythm and the rhyme, all poems have rhythm. We all know that. Then you need to determine what it is. Some poems are rhymed. You must decide how you will read it. So, for example, guys, if you read a rhymed poem in a sing song fashion, you will create a different message than if you read the lines naturally and thoughtfully. So, those are the most important things you need for analyzing. Then, we have number 4, using your voice and body. To begin, to begin this of yourself as a dramatic speaker, there is a fine line between acting and interpretation. If the dramatic speaker is an uninvolved narrator or observer, your voice and body should reflect that. If the dramatic speaker is a character in the middle of an argument, your voice and body show the character's anger. So, for this, uh, what you call analyzing, this is very important because uh, before you interpret the said literature, you need to use your voice and body, of course, so that the listener will also connect to you or know what you are doing or what is the um, body of such piece. Then let's go to eye focus. Can everybody relate to eye focus? Of course, right? Because you usually look at the audience when you are performing, scanning the audience slowly and pausing, holding your gaze every once in a while before continuing to scan. However, if you have more than one character, one way to show the difference between the characters is to have a different but consistent eye focus for each character. So, guys, for example, you may look at a spot on the back wall when speaking as the first character, and then shift your eyes to a different spot as the second character. The audience should see your head and your eyes move slightly as you switch characters. You don't want to swing your head each time a different character speaks. So, those are the sample, guys, so that your audience will not be bored to you watching you just speaking all day. Then we have preparing a performance script. So, to prepare a performance script, there are things you need to know. First is um, order the literature pieces uh, in the order you will perform them. Then, mark the pieces to reflect your thinking on how you will perform them. The third one is create the overall structure of the performance, including transitions between pieces and insertion of the introduction. So, those three are the most important in preparing a performance script. So, uh, then we have the rehearsing oral interpretation. So, there are steps. Yes, there are steps to practice the delivery of your oral interpretation. Number one, we have there read your piece silently 2 or 3 times. Go straight through, don't stop and start over, and don't go back over any section. Then the second one, repeat step 1, this time aloud. So, for the one, read your piece silently, but in number 2, you need to repeat step 1, but this time, you need to speak it aloud. Then the third one, stand up. Give your piece while looking up at regular intervals. Then, practice gestures and movement. Work with your script, follow your markings, complete the entire piece. This is a rehearsal, so it doesn't matter if you make mistakes. It is important to go through the entire piece without stopping. So this is your chance to practice your piece so that no there is no reason for you to stop even if you make mistake. So the number 4, which is continue step 3 until you can give the entire piece with all the planned vocal tones and body movements. Then we have for the last one is practicing relaxation. You will probably be nervous before a performance, so you may wish to try some relaxation techniques. So do you want to have a sample on how you will relax before performing? So here are some of the sample. Number 1, clench your fist tightly for a count of 10. So clench your fist for a count of 10. Then release and let your whole body go limp. That is for number 1. Number 2, take a deep breath and hold it for a count of 10. Let it out all at once, letting your body go completely loose and limp. The number 3, breathe normally. Let your muscles relax more and more as you let out each breath. Then let your head hang down so your chin almost touches your chest. Slowly rotate your head in a circle one way and then the other. Do this 2 or 3 times. Then number 5, imagine yourself on a warm beach, in a hot bath, or anywhere that seems relaxing to you. Breathe slowly and deeply. So guys, those are the most important points you need to remember you in interpreting or for oral interpretation. So I hope you guys listen carefully and take down all the important notes so that so that when you perform or interpret orally, you will be better and the audience will easily get what you want them to know. So that's all. Thank you guys and have a good day. Bye.